everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, as per your time zones and locations. So, welcome again to this series. And in this series, we are now going to talk about another chapter that is users and group administration, which is very important for any platform of Linux usage you are doing. Whether you are working for direct Linux administration or you might be using it with DevOps or any other platform, this concept is going to be very important. So in this chapter, we are going to talk about users, types of users, password complexity requirements, creating, modifying, and deleting a user. Then we are going to talk about what is a group, types of group, creating, modifying, and deleting group, adding, removing users into the group. So let's start with that. Now, what exactly is a user? As you know, user is someone who uses or operates the resources of the system. I can call it as an agent. By using the user, you can log in into the system, you can explore the system, and you can access the resources of your system. Whenever you are trying to log in into the system, it requires you to give username and password. Without going this authentication, you will not be allowed to log in into the system. And the user informations are stored in a file called etc password. What information does it store? Generally, it has your important user ID. Every user gets a unique identity, which is called as user ID. And the user's password is kept in another file that is etc shadow. And here the password is available in encrypted form. And whenever a user login, the user requires to go in his home directory. So every user will get their personal directory, which we have learned in our first class of architecture and file system hierarchy. And every user will also get a program through which they can run commands and communicate with kernel that is called as shell. Now let's see what are the user hierarchy do we have. The topmost user in Unix or Linux is called as superuser. And one and only example of superuser is root user. Root is the most powerful user that you have in Unix and Linux operating system. And the user ID always reserved for root is 0. 0 as a user ID and 0 as a group ID, and the home directory of root will be /root. So whenever you log in into Linux environment using root, you will be automatically taken into /root as it is the home directory. And root uses a very common shell called bash shell. See, bash shell is one of the most easiest, user-friendly, and also the most advanced shell what you can get in Linux environment. Every regular type of users will be using this shell only. Then the next important users are system users. See, system users are nothing but the important services or system related users that is required to run some important system applications like FTP, SSH, Apache, Nobody. These are few of the examples of system users. And the ID reserved for system users are between 1 to 999. So if you find any user between 1 to 999, that means that is your system user. And the home directory reserved for system users are different to every application. FTP have a separate directory, Apache has a separate directory, DNS has a separate directory. But you see, all of them has a very common thing that is called as sbin, no login. Now this shell prevents system users from login into the system. Now these users are available, but they are only available for internal usage. If you try to log in with FTP, SSH, Nobody, it won't allow you to log in even though you have set a password. The reason is every system user will have a no login shell that prevents them from login. Then the last type of user what we have is a normal user, which is very, very ordinary set of user. Now it can be any user with your name, my name, etc. And the IDs reserved for them is 1000 to 60,000, the user ID and the group ID. And the home directory for every user will be /home and the username. Suppose you have a user Musab, so you will get the home directory /home Musab. Suppose you have a user with the name Srinivas, so you will have /home Srinivas, like that. And all the normal users will have a shell, bash shell, that will be given to every regular type of user in Linux. Now, let us see that how we can find the details about the users. So I am on my CentOS machine, which we are using for this practical. So this is CentOS 8 on which we are working since the beginning. Now here, if you wanted to view the user information, then you can go to a file, etc password. Now etc password contains user information like username, link to the password file, shadow file that contains the real password. First zero is a user ID and second zero is a primary group ID. Now what is exactly primary group ID? In a short while, we are going to study that also. Root is a GCOS or comment that gives information about that user. Suppose there is a user you wanted to call it with different name, like he's a manager or TL or he's from admin department. So for that, you can use this comment. The home directory for this user is /root and the shell what this fellow is using is bash shell. Now, if you want to view the recently added user, you can go to the bottom of the file and here you will find out recently created user that exists in the system and their details. Now, let us say that I would like to add few more user, or before that, if you wanted to view the shadow information like the password. See, first of all, etc shadow is not accessible by everyone. As you see, this file does not have any permission. This means this cannot be accessed by everyone. Only root can access it. The other users will not be able to access it, right? So only root can access this file. So who am I? I'm root. So as a root, I can actually go to etc shadow and I can view this. So it shows you that what are the users that are available and what are their password. Now, even after you are seeing what exactly is the password here, you cannot guess the real password because it is protected by encryption. Now let us say I wanted to add a new user. To create a user with all default options, you have a command user add, but you can use some options as well. I'll show you the options in a short while. Let's create one user with a name called John. So I'll say user add and the username. And if you just go back and look into the bottom of this file, you'll find that John user has been created with default user ID and default group ID. Now let us say I wanted to add one more user, and this time the user I wanted to give my choice things, like I wanted to give my choice user ID, I wanted to give a comment, and I wanted to give a different shell. So you can use all these options to set different attributes, like U for user ID, capital G for secondary group ID, small g for primary group ID, and D for home directory, C for comment, and S for providing shell. Now you see, you can go like this: user add, username, options, or you can go with user add, options, username. Any way you like, you can use it and you can create a user. Now let us say I wanted to create a user with the name called Ali. And this user, I wanted to give my choice user ID, my choice comment, and I also wanted to give my choice shells. To view how many shells you have, you can visit a file etc shells. This will tell you how many shells you have. So we have a standard shell and we have something called a bash shell. Now let us say that I would like to give this user a standard shell. So you see, how can I create a user with my choice things? So I'll say user add, and I would like to add a user with my choice user ID 1100, and or maybe I want 1050, for example. And I also want to give a comment with a name called manager, for example. And also, I want a shell to be given bin sh. Observe over here, I have used the full path. I just did not mention sh. I used the complete path. Many people make mistakes that only give sh or bash, and they complain that the user is not getting the shell. So please use the complete path to get that shell. Finally, you can mention the username what you want. So this time, a user is created with your choice attributes. So if you see, we have early user with my choice user ID and group ID, my choice command, and my choice shell. So this is the way you can create a user. Not only you can create a user, but if you'd like to modify, you can modify it also as per your requirement. Options are going to be same. Instead of user add, this time you have to say user mod. Suppose I wanted to change the user ID to 1060, for example, and I want to change the comment to admin like this. And I wanted to change the shell to the regular one, bin bash. For which user? Ali user. Now, if you go back and view, you see Ali user is here with my choice ID. As I did not mention to change the group ID did not get affected. But your choice ID has been modified, the comment or gcos value has also been changed, and the shell is back to bash. But you see, these users are created, but they don't have a password. Neither John nor Ali, no one has a password. Now let us say I wanted to add a password for John. See, to assign the password for any user, as a root, you can set a password, and to set a password, you can go with the command passwd followed by username. So when you say passwd and username, this will allow root user to change the password. So let me come back and I'll say passwd. I wanted to change the password for John. Now you can keep any password, whatever you like. For example, I'm going to keep a password as my user, something. One more time, my user. Now, if you go back and check in etc shadow, you'll find out that these user got their password. So John user has now got a password. Same like that, I wanted to give a password for Ali user. So let me go and assign the password. I'll say password Ali, and you can set any password twice. See, I have kept the password as red, but if you go and view etc shadow, you see such a big line is available, you cannot even guess exactly what is the password. So this is the encryption, what it is doing. Now, how to know which encryption is being used? So you can run password -s and any username. So here it tells you that you are using SHA-512 encryption. This is the default encryption what Linux uses to protect the user identity. Now you can log in as the user and you can check the details about that user. So once you have logged in, you can say ID command. This will display what is your user ID, what is your group ID, and in how many groups you are participating. Now, the thing what I really wanted you to know is when a user tries to change his own password. See, as a root, when I tried to change the password, it was way simple. You just run password LE, you have given a new password, and you have retyped the password. It did. Now, as Ali, if you try to change your own password, you cannot type your own name. If you want to change your own password, you just need to say passwd command. That's it. And as a security, you need to give your current password. So let me give my current password, and now you can give a new password. Suppose I'll try to give a password like Musab1234. Now you see it fails. It says it's too simplistic password. See, this is something called password complexity requirement. As a root, when you are trying to change a password for someone, you don't need to go with any complexities. Even one letter password you can keep. But as a user, when the user is trying to change his or her own password, the user must have a password at least 8 characters long. And second thing, it must have some alphabets, some numbers, and if you can add some special characters that would give a good meaning. For example, if I want to keep the password something like this, musab@391. Now you see this is more than 8 characters. It has alphabets, it has numbers, and it has some special character also. So let me try out this password. Let me run passwd first, and let me give my current password, then the new password musab@391. One more time, musab@391, and you see my password has been successfully updated. So this is the way a normal user is allowed to change his own password. One more thing is there, guys. Let us say you have logged in as one user. Maybe again I'll log in as Ali, and let me log in with my new password, and I want to switch myself to some other user. To convert yourself to other user, we have an option SU, switch user, and you can say switch myself to John. Now you must know the password of John if you type the correct password for John. For example, as I know the password, you see I'm able to convert myself to John. If I don't know the password, it won't allow me to switch to the other user. So this is called switching the user. So we have learned how to create a user, how to modify the user, and if you wanted to delete a user, how to delete a user. For example, I have a user over here called Ali. And if I want to remove Ali, you have to say user del and the username. Now this will delete a user for sure. But if you just check it out, tail etc password, the name of Ali has been removed. But if you look into a home directory, you see Ali's home directory is still there. And also guys, every user you are adding will get a mailbox. So if you look in where, spool, and mail, you'll find the mailbox. Say two users can exchange emails. To exchange the emails, we need a mailboxes. So all users' mailboxes are stored in where spool mail. So you see the mailbox are still there. Now in this situation, if you don't want any leftover, if you don't want any mess up, then you have to clean it manually. You have to go to where's full mail, and over here you have to remove the file of Ali. Then come to home directory, and over here remove the home directory of Ali. Now you see how tedious it is. Every time you're deleting a user, you need to clean the home directory, you need to clean the mailbox. Now this is the way I don't really want to work. So in that case, what I wanted to do is I want to remove the home directory and mailbox together. So you have a command userdel, and there is an option -r. R for remove. What remove? Remove home directory and the mailbox together. So whenever you're planning to delete a user, you can say userdel -r and the username. Now, if you look tail etc password, there is no John name user. If you go into home directory, there is no mail home directory for John. And if you look in var spool mail, you'll not find John's mailbox also. So this is a proper cleaning of a user. Now, guys, this is with respect to Red Hat, CentOS, Alma Linux, Rocky Linux, or Amazon Linux, or Oracle Linux. Now, if you're working with Ubuntu, for example, now there also the commands are absolutely same. You can use the same thing what we have done. But when you goes to Ubuntu, there is one more option what you can use. See, in Ubuntu, you cannot work directly as a normal user. See, root login is disabled. So if you try to log in as root, it will fail. So you need to log in as a normal user. Like in this case, while installing, I added myself as Musab user. Now, as Musab user, if I wanted to convert into root user so that I can get root powers, so you can say sudo. See, with respect to sudo, you can run any command, but it will ask you to give the password of Musab. So as I know the password, let me type the password so it will work. Now, let us say I don't want to use that sudo all the time. I just wanted to run the command directly. So in that case, what I can do is I can switch myself into root. So when you run sudo su hyphen, you will be converted to root access. So for security reason in Ubuntu, you wouldn't be getting the direct root access. You need to create a normal user, then you have to convert into root user. Now here also, if you wanted to add a user, the same thing you can do what we have learned. For example, I wanted to create a new user, so I'll say user add, and I'll say Sam. If you go and check EDC password, the SAM user is created absolutely the same way how we have done previously in CentOS. Now, if you look in tail etc shadow, you'll find that SAM user is added, but without any password. Now, if you want, you can set a password here for SAM, and you can keep whatever password you want. But there is one more option what you can use for going into a very detailed option, that is add user. See, you can run add user and you can give so many things inside it, right? Like you can say add user, and I wanted to add a user with the name called Tony. Now it will ask you so many details. It says user is added, group is added, everything is done. And here it is asking you, would you like to assign the password also? I'll say yes, go ahead with that. So let me set up a password as well. Now it was asking you what you wanted to give the detail. So you can say, what is the name of this fellow? What is the room number, right? If you have any such details that you want to give, you can give it, or just leave it blank if you don't want to continue. Lastly, it says, is this information correct? I'll say, yes, it's correct. Now, if you go and check it out, tail etc password, you see Tony is added with so much details over here. So same thing is applicable for deleting a user. You can say user del -r and Tony. So this is going to delete the user, but it says there was no mailbox for this user, so I did not delete the mailbox. That's fine. So this is how we can work with Ubuntu. So here I'm working on Ubuntu. As you see, this is an Ubuntu 22 version on which I was working. So this is the way you can go for user administration. Now, same way if you wanted to go for group. You see, group is nothing but a collection of users. Whenever you have different departments, different teams, different projects on which you are working, so we form a group to put all the related members at one place for ease of identification, and the exchange of information between group members should also become easier. So generally, group is a collection of users. Now we have two types of group. One is a primary group and the other one is a secondary group. See, primary group is automatically created the moment you're adding a user. For example, I will now add a user with the name called Gilani, for example. So when I hit enter, you go and check it out, tail etc password, and you see Gilani user is added with user ID and group ID. Now, whose group ID it is? What is the name of that group? So if you go to another file here, etc group. See, etc group is a file that contains the information about groups. So if you look out over here, there is a member called Gilani. Now this is a group name. So the moment you added a user with the same name and most probably the same ID, a group will also be created. So at the time of creation of user, automatically a group will also be added that is called as primary group. Now, what is the role of primary group? Why do we need that group? For example, I have a user here with the name my user. Let me log in as my user, and you see when my user create a file, automatically my user will become the owner of the file and his primary group will occupy the group permission. So primary group is used to take the group permission of a file and directory whenever you create it, right? Now, with respect to primary group, a user can take part into so many other groups, but those will be called as secondary group. So secondary group is actually used to add many members at one place, and they can share the same permissions, and they can be identified easily that they are part of this group. So every user is a part of at least one group, and it will be a part of so many other groups. So one private personal group, and with respect to that, a user can be taking part into so many other groups that is called as secondary group. Now let us see how we can create a group over here. To create a group, you can use a command group add, and you can say add a group with a name called um, tem GRP, whatever the name your choice is. Now, if you go to tail etc group, you'll find that there is a group added over here with the name called temgrp. Now, same way, I would like to add one more group, and this group, I wanted to give my choice ID. I don't want it to take the default ID. So in that case, I'll say group add with my choice group ID 1101. Add a group with the name SAPGRP. So this time you see a group has been added with my choice ID. So whatever I like, it has given that. Now, if you wanted to modify the group, maybe I just wanted to change the name of that group. So you can say um, group mod, change the name to Team GRP for the current name Tem GRP. So I'm telling group mod, change the name to Team GRP for an existing group, which is Tem GRP. Now, if you go back and check it out, you'll find out that earlier there used to be Tem GRP, which is now changed to Theme GRP with my choice name. Now, if you don't like the group ID and you want to modify the group ID, you can say group mod, change the group ID to 1102. For which group? Team GRP. So this is the way how you can create a group and you can modify the group. But you see this group is empty. It does not have any users inside it. Now, whether you are using CentOS, Ubuntu, anyone, the command is absolutely same. So we have a command with the name called gpassword options arguments, and the group name. What are the options? Hyphen capital M for adding multiple users to a group. Hyphen small a for adding just a single member. Hyphen capital A for adding group administrator. Hyphen D for removing a user from the group. So let's learn that, how to work with that. So let me first start by adding multiple members into the group. Like you see, I have three, four, five users. Maybe I wanted to add U1, U2, U3, all the three, or maybe my users U1, U2, U3, four members I want to add into this group. To add it, I'll say G password hyphen capital M. I would like to add my user, comma, U1, comma, U2, comma, U3. In which group? The group I wanted to use is Team GRP. Now, if you go back and check it out in ETC group, you'll find Team GRP is having these many members. Now, if you like the same members, you can add in the other group also. So a user can have multiple secondary group. We can only have one primary group, but a user can have multiple secondary group. Same members will be in SAP GRP, same members will be in Team GRP. It's up to you. Now, I would like to just add Jelani into this group. How can I add just one member? To add only a single member, you have to use gpassword hyphen small a. Capital M for multiple members, small a for just one member, into which group? Team GRP. Now, if you go back and look it out, see Jelani is also added. Now, if you want to remove the member from this group, then you can say G password hyphen D. D is actually for deleting. It does not literally delete the user. It just removes the user from the group. So I'll say G password hyphen D, delete a user Jelani from team GRP. Now, if you go back and check it out, you'll see that Jelani is out of that group. Now, you see, to do this activity, I need to log in as root and I need to do this activity. Will it not be a great idea that one member, we give this responsibility to add and remove members into the group? Like in today's time, we use WhatsApp groups, guys. In WhatsApp groups, we have admins who can add, remove members into the group. So same way, I would like to make one member as an administrator. Suppose, let me log in as my user, and let me give a password as my user. If I say gpassword add Jelani in the group team GRP, it says permission denied because this user is not a group administrator. Now let us say if I want to make an admin. First of all, how to know, do I already have an administrator with this name? Please visit a file etc gshadow. See, etc shadow keeps user password, etc gshadow keeps group password. Now the concept of group password is not used much, so I don't wanted to even talk about it. But there is a file that keeps the group password. This file is also important for group admin. You see, I have a group without any password and there is an empty field followed by the username. So this empty field is the group administrator field. So as this group does not have any admin, so root has to manage it. Now once you make admins, then those members can manage it. So let us say G password hyphen capital A. I want to make my user and you two members as an admin, three members as an admin, or you can just keep one member as an admin for team GRP. Now, if you go back and look it out, my username is repeated twice, so this fellow has become a group admin. Now, if I go back and repeat the command. See, last time permission was denied, but now when I hit enter, you see it's working. And if you go back and look it out into group, you'll find that Jelani is added successfully. Now, if I again wanted to remove some other user, so I can say G password hyphen D, remove U3 from team GRP. So this is the way a normal user can be added as a group admin and you can play with that things. Now, finally, if you wanted to delete a group, what to be done? See, to delete a group, you have to go with the command groupdel and the group name, that is teamgrp. Now, teamgrp has 3-4 members inside it. What would happen to the members when you delete a group? Very frequently asked question in interviews as well, that when you delete a group, what happens to the members inside it? Are they deleted also? Yes and no, both. What do you mean by that? See, when you delete a group, the users inside it will be deleted from the group, but they are not deleted from the system. That means they are removed from the group, but they are not deleted from the system. So first it removes the member from the group, and finally it is going to destroy the group. So you see, when I hit enter, go back to etc group, and you see the group is deleted, but still those members are available, as only the group got deleted, but the members are still there. The same way, if you want, you can delete SAP GRP and other groups also. So this is it, guys, for this session where we have learned how to deal with users and group administration. Hope you have learned a lot good thing this time. See you in the next video where we are going to talk about some more interesting topics. Thank you very much, guys. Have a nice day. See you soon.